Hi, San Diego Comic-Con. Welcome to the Storm King Comics panel focused on their July release. John Carpenter presents Storm Kids, Sacred Hearts. Storm Kids is the Storm King line whose titles include all age releases as well as young adult options. I am Liz Fulda. I'm the publicist for Storm King. I'm the least important person on this panel at all. I have the entire creative team with us to talk about the new book. It will be in stores on July 14th. So I will let everybody introduce themselves better than I could ever do. Nat, would you like to start?
Hi, I'm Nat Jones.
More Nat. Visuals?
I was artist and co-creator on Sacred Hearts, and I've worked with Steve on several projects. This was a really fun one that we got to do together, so I'm really excited about getting it out there to everyone.
Janice?
Hi, I'm Janice Chang. I'm the lettering department for Storm King Comics. And that's my part, to provide the soundtrack to all our books.
How you doing, Steve?
Yep.
What you got going on?
Good. I am Steve Niles. I'm the writer and co-creator on Sacred Hearts.
And I'm Sandy King Carpenter. And I'm the CEO of Storm King Productions, Storm King Comics. And I'm just lucky enough to get all these great people working with us. And Nat works multiple projects with us. Steve works multiple projects with us. And without Janice, we wouldn't have Storm King. And Liz is essential, or you wouldn't be looking at us here today. And, you know, she keeps life spicy.
Well, thank you for that. For the home games, Sacred Hearts is a story that encompasses monsters in the woods, family curses, and the fact that some monsters are special because they are born with a sacred heart. Now, as with all the comics that come out from Storm King, Storm King Comics is the first and only place that you can see new IPs from John Carpenter. Sandy is the only person that exists on this earth who can really bring out the Carpenter brand, from storytelling to production. And her input on this is absolutely crucial. But there's this other guy in the room who isn't here. His name is John Carpenter, and he changed all of our lives. So as a little kind of icebreaker, I want to hear your first John Carpenter memory. Mine was Big Trouble in Little China. Nat?
For me, it was probably The Thing. That one just really, I was never the same after that. It changed my view on storytelling, on the visuals, everything. Like it's just such a huge part of where I am and who I am as an artist, and creatively what I think of as solid storytelling and characterization, and what a monster is. So.
Janice?
The other member of the team here.
Memories of Big Trouble in Little China, because I was so impressed there were people who looked like me in a film without being in character or in yellowface. And the other movie is Starman, because I thought it was such a wonderful contrast where he can do, the drama and then a love story. So I really appreciate all aspects of his talent and storytelling.
Well, and for me, it has to be Halloween, because when it came out, I wasn't old enough to go see it, and my mother had to go with me to take it in, and she watched the entire movie with her eyes covered, sitting next to me.
Yeah, people don't understand. It's covering your ears. Yeah, I try and tell people who are scared, cover your ears. It's not your eyes, because that's how we stab you.
and kids at home, pay attention. She's done this before. She'll do it again.
Oh yeah. That's my aim in life. I think that one of the things that we carry, with the brand, is the themes of John Carpenter, which is largely, who are you? What makes you human? And the idea of, he has a lot of ensemble casting and how the dynamics of group work through. And that also influences the stories I choose from different creators, because I think that's a really important aspect of life, and how that plays out. And I think that out of John's movies, The Thing is one of the most influential on me. And how I pick and choose the stories, whether it's from the kids book, for the kids books, or for the adult books. And Steve and Nat have done both kinds of books for me. And so I'd say that's the imprint, from that is the strongest, coming from the movies into the comics.
Nice. So Storm Kids is about scaring children, which I thought, that's not something that societally we're like, hey, let's go scare some kids. So why is scaring kids important?
It is important to have a way to process your fears. Horror is an allegorical medium. And we took away the roller coaster ride, the ability to process your fears from children so many years ago, and the only one left standing was R.L. Stine for the most part. And what I realized was quality storytelling to help kids from little ones all the way through adulthood. We sanitized everything, and they didn't have a way to, I felt, with great writers and great artists, we took that away. And what I realized was missing when I was at the comic conventions and everything was little kids were coming up and going through my adult comics. And the parents would go, oh, it's okay, watch his Walking Dead. Well, great, he's watching, a soap where they murder each other. That isn't good enough. You have to be able to address fear on their levels of separation anxiety, death, things that they're exploring at age 4, at age 8. At those ages, they need to be able to talk to their parents and have things read to them the way fairy tales used to work. And that's why it was worth hunting down Steve Niles and go, you want to write a kid's story, don't you? Other writers who are essentially grown-up writers and bring quality books to younger readers. So it's not to scare them, it's to let them process, but with high quality writers and artists.
My experience growing up was actually as a little kid, I couldn't watch any horror, anything. I'd be traumatized and be waking up my parents all night. But I kept coming back. And unfortunately, for me, there wasn't, like, Sandy said, there wasn't a lot of stuff specifically for kids in the horror, area. So, I slowly just kept coming back and getting used to horror and really just very directly confronting my fears until it turned into something I love, and that's just something, I hope that we can do with our books.
I think we can. I mean, they love sci-fi. They love scares that are like the books we have for 4-year-old, are little things where they get to participate in Halloween, and you've got, Bunny Burrow Mansion that may or may not be haunted, and there may be a ghost flying around who turns out to be a white fruit bat that got lost. So they get to stick a foot in with prankster things, and it turns out there really are bunny ghosts at Bunny Burrow Mansion. But, you don't try and terrify them. You try and make it so they get a foot into the fun, like scary tales.
They're already having those thoughts. The memory of New York Comic Con a couple years ago that still makes me laugh was a little girl. She's about 9 years old, starts going through Tales from a Halloween Night, which is our yearly anthology. I highly recommend it. And mom, we're at the booth going, that might not be for you. And mom, says, oh, no, she's fine. And this little girl opens to a panel that has a speed bump in it. She looks at her mom and says, Mommy, do you know what speed bumps are made out of? No, honey, I don't. The bodies of dead children, Mom. The bodies of dead children. And so, like, all of us were just like, oh my God. But this little girl, I mean, no more than 9, is having these thoughts.
Oh, yeah.
I think,
And, when once they're hitting the 8-year-olds, and we have the middle grade, like we have the Grimmstown Terror Tales, they can handle a little more. But, and then when we get to the YA group, we can nail them because they're ready for it. More ready than everybody thinks. But our adult horror is more existential. It's over their heads.
Yeah.
They're just looking at gory pictures, but they're not understanding what scares us. Issues of mortality, issues of faith, the kinds of things that I choose that are adult issues. So I try and make it so that we're speaking to whatever age group it is. And I don't think our adult books are appropriate for 12-year-olds because they're not going to get what it is that's scary about those things in life. Those hit you later.
Straight up. Nat, Janice, do you have any thoughts on that?
I think that the tradition of horror and storytelling to children, it's as old as we are as humanity, as humans. If you go all the way back to the Fireside Story, and they've always been part of teaching what it is to be a human to children. And I think that even up until pretty recently in history, it still, held a really important part in development for children and parenting and the growth of people. And then in the last, 50, 100 years, we've softened and softened and softened, and monsters went from being monsters to Cookie Monster. We took that and we really just took the edge out of that part of storytelling and teaching of our children. And I think it kind of left children not able to deal with the reality of what life was. And giving them that to see, horror is one of the most important places to learn what it is to be human. What drives us, what our fears are, what our loves are, what our passions are. And I think some of the best storytelling and characterization of people as people is done through horror stories.
Yeah, one of the books I recommend when I was on that educators panel, Liz, you remember, they were trying to recommend specific things for outsider kids, for kids that had issues with feeling like the other, was Steve and Bernie Wrightson's book of Frankenstein. And it said you have no better way of exploring what it is to be seen as beautiful by your creator, but a monster by others. And then eventually you see yourself as a monster reflected in the water. And that became an aha moment for those educators in the room, because they hadn't thought of a universal other, a universal way to identify and what the classic monsters were. And I think there's a lot to be learned.
All right, so everybody's into horror. Who's on this? What brought you to the dark side? What was your first thing that said, I want to dive down that rabbit hole, the never-ending darkness and everything that is related to horror?
For me, it was
the original Night of the Living Dead. Yeah. Just everything about that. When I saw it, Night of the Living Dead, for the first time, well, I was really young, and I tuned in during the scene where they're doing the news reporting. So I had like a War of the Worlds moment where, I thought I was watching something real, and I was just a little kid. And then for so many reasons, that movie became just a real guiding force for me. George Romero being who he is and what he did, I just loved it. But that was the first time I remember really having the crap scared out of me. And I loved it.
For me, it really goes back to probably the Universal films, and watching them with my dad. For me, horror is always going to be tied to my dad. That's something that we share together. We still do. And, just being that, and those films were accessible to younger viewers. And that was a great thing about them. So being that young child watching them with my dad and having that kind of bonding thing was really important. And I'll carry that with me through to the end. So.
I think you make an excellent point, though, that is why Storm Kids resonates. Is there is something incredibly powerful. We all want to look at things like The Road, about a parent, or in a lot of more modern things about family teaching kids to survive things. Right there, you and your dad, like that's it. That's where that eureka moment comes. Janice?
My big movie was Creature from the Black Lagoon. And, growing up a minority, you always feel like an outsider. So when you saw people, misunderstanding him because he didn't look like them, it was like, yeah, that's me. So I'm always rooting for the underdog, so to speak. And when the children of Sacred Hearts come upon their newfound friend, it was like, yeah, let's test out humanity. Let's put our, brains together to help somebody. So my side of horror is not the scaring part, but how does it become part of us? How do we deal with it? How do we deal with it humanely, basically? So that's my entry in horror. But I read EC books and comics with his scary tales also.
Mine was reading Frankenstein when I was 10, and then immediately Dracula, and then The Island of Dr. Moreau, and I was just hooked.
Island of Dr. Moreau is fantastic. Frankenstein is a classic, but Island of Dr. Moreau is an underrated, that is, that's absolutely good. This book is getting great early reviews. We've been compared to Stranger Things. We've been compared to The Goonies. What do you guys think makes this book different? I mean, there's a lot of YA titles now. Horror has had a resurgence for obvious reasons, but this book specifically is really resonating. Why do you think that is?
I
think part of it is
touched on. Go ahead, Steve.
No, you go. Sorry.
I think one of the things that Janice kind of touched on is the idea that with their new friend, that you've got a dynamic of acceptance in the story and of dealing with someone that is different from you and sharing that humanity. And as much as it's a horror story, it's a story of friendship. And I think that's one of the things that is different from some of those other things where the monster was outside of that circle of friendship. You're breaking that wall and changing that dynamic.
Nice.
Yeah, I think, part of the appeal, for me at least in writing it was, what Janice was saying, I very much I never saw the Creature from the Black Lagoon as being a bad guy. I always saw it as, why are they messing with him? If they didn't mess with him, this wouldn't happen. Same thing with King Kong, and in a lot of ways, Frankenstein. I always was attracted to the sympathetic monster.
Me too.
So, when we did Sacred Heart, so that's a big part of what Sacred Hearts is about, it's, the monster isn't always who you think it is.
Well put. So everybody has been working remotely for a year. How, I know this is the first time that I've seen everybody, this is the first time I've gotten to meet Nat, how are you guys staying connected? How are you guys staying motivated?
It's how we always work. We're actually more connected than if you work at DC or Marvel or something where they're not allowed to talk to each other. We try and be as connected as possible on all our books. I think it's really important to work more like film people do, where there are no barriers to the artist and writer and letterer, and everybody's proofing and everybody's talking through emails and texts and things like that. And but in terms of our process on comics, nobody's in same areas for the most part. Half the time, I don't know where the hell anybody is, except by bank wire transfers. But, the people working on our comics some aren't in this country, some we never meet face to face, but have worked on multiple comics. We try, particularly when there's San Diego or New York Comic-Con stuff, to have family dinners where we just get to be together and say, wow, this is you. Awesome.
But what amazes me about our Storm King comic teams is the level of professionalism and accountability to each other up and down the line. Nat, I'm amazed that the two of us put out a graphic novel. That's like unheard of. Just like, look at this. There's only 2 people on the credit line.
Yeah. That was really efficient. I thought that was pretty cool.
I come from a traditional comic background of hand lettering, so I would letter the credit line, and I probably haven't met like 95% of the people. I've lettered their names. So it's always like a traditional team. So it was like you and I was like, wow, this is amazing.
Steve, what's keeping you motivated, connected?
Well, to be perfectly honest, not a lot changed. I always was home by myself all the time, sitting and working. So if anything changed, well, the lack of conventions was big, because I would still go out and do conventions. But honestly, I'm in touch with more people now because of Zoom and things like this than I ever have been. So because people that I did just email with or with that, now we talk. I've actually been getting a lot of work done. And like I said, it wasn't that big of a change.
No.
Yeah, I think for me, the same thing. It didn't change other than conventions and, slight changes in what it meant to go to the grocery store. Things stayed pretty much the same.
Yeah, they did.
I think the one thing, though, it's just the shift in consciousness around the world and everyone paying attention to what's happening and the conversation that's happening there has really been driving me to be more and more creative, to do more, to create more, to draw more, to write more, and to speak my side of that voice. So I think that from that point of view, I think for creatives, artists everywhere, this has been a really good time for us to kind of lock ourselves in our little dungeon basement studios and make. And so.
And I think from a non-creative standpoint, that is the difference between everything Storm King does. Sandy has used the analogy of a pirate ship, that we are all pirates on the same ship, and I think that is what really brings some of the excellence that is output from the input of people who all realize we're on the same ship. And we're opinionated. We all have ideas about things, and Sandy's great. She listens to everything. She will tell you if you're full of but, you know, like there are brand standards. But, you know, it's, you know, I am a non-creative person, but the thing that I hear over and over and over again from creatives is the best place in the world to work is Storm King Comics. And so I think that's pretty cool. Okay. Everybody works in comics. We all have our own little nerd collectibles. We have things that we're excited about. What is the comic or collectible that either you created or possess that turns you into a big old pile of nerd goo? For me, it's a signed Flash Gordon print. That's my thing. That's the thing that turns me into a freaking 5-year-old. What is the thing that turns you guys, that just still ignites that childlike geek glee?
You know, anything that Bernie Wrightson did. I just, you know, I'm actually surrounded by art and stuff like that. I don't know if you can see, but that's Bernie's Frankenstein back there, the pencil.
No,
And
I
was awesome.
kill for that.
Yeah.
I would kill.
What?
Yeah.
I'd
like to.
I almost
We
did.
win.
Yeah.
We've got
So,
actually
you know, that's the one that really, oh yeah.
that
You got
Steve
Kelly
was
Jones back there, right?
us having Batman Gotham After Midnight 2 Kelly Jones pages. And they're pretty much the most awesome things in this house.
Yeah.
That's,
Yeah.
Considering the house that you live in, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean, we've got cool, you know, we've got Rodin, we've got lobby cards, and we do have a Wrightson drawing, but I didn't score a Frankenstein, which I just would have crawled across ground glass on my lips for. But these
Well,
are just beautiful.
I actually, there's a Nat right down there. That's Nat's Frankenstein with the
Oh.
hand on the face. Recognize that,
Oh
Nat?
man,
Yeah, that's my love. I just love collecting art.
yeah. I mean, I think that's the deal, because we're probably one of the reasons we're all so attracted to comics is the art, and then in movies we collect lobby cards back from silent films through when they quit making cool lobby cards.
Nat, Janice, pass up.
For me, it's a Wrightson again.
Oh.
I had the opportunity to ink him on a piece for a cover for a book that I co-created called 68, and just to work over his pencils, like that was just, it's a mind-blowing honor. You know, I've worked for Frazetta and, you know, so many honors in my artistic career, but that piece really just stands out as something that to me like is super important. And it even in pencil, which I didn't ink this part, but so everything's inked, but in the pencil still left, it says for Nat, Bernie, and like like that piece.
Oh man.
All right, I love this question. That's fantastic.
All right, Janet.
I don't collect anything because my experience in the industry, I've been able to work on the best of the best in terms of like literally being on the art page, you know, from John Buscema. Well, with Bernie, I did the whole Captain Stern series for Tundra.
Oh.
The irony is, like, I've never used my drawing board on a slant because I started on a kitchen table with a board. So Bernie had those 18 by 24 pages. So I'd be like hanging up over, trying to like not smear the pencils, but get the lettering in. So it's like I have nothing hanging on the wall because when I work on a story, that's my favorite. And it's hard to choose after all those thousands of pages. Like, what am I going to keep looking at? And Sandy, every day is Christmas when I open and find art from Nat and all the Storm King artists. It's like, how can I be so lucky? So Sorry, I can't pick a favorite. It's
Well,
like
Janice, as usual, transcends everything.
Janice collects people. Have you ever been around Janice at a convention? The entire world comes up and hugs her.
Yes. And yes, Janice knows absolutely everybody. If you guys see Janice at a show, wear a mask or at least distance, hand sanitize. But there's no one in this world that Janice does not already know, and everybody loves Janice.
Yes.
if I don't know you today, I'll know you tomorrow.
That's true.
But Janice's passion is contagious, and that is why we all love working with her. And passion for what you do, I think it is absolutely transformative. It resonates. So in that vein, you're talking to a tween. You want to tell them about this book and why they should buy it in one sentence. Go. I sent it to you yesterday for
I had to read over all the books, the issues, this morning, because the way we work is like, it's like I know all our things are really great, but until it becomes public, it stays, quiet. So it's like I had to read through all the books, and if you didn't cry when the kids meet, their new friend, you have a heart of stone. I mean, by issue 3, it's about friendship from people who are not like you. What I really love is how the young people keep it away from the adults. They handle it on their own. They don't tell them exactly what they're doing. It's like, yeah, we're going to go build that tree house, or we'll be out in the woods. But their interaction is their faith in each other that provides cohesiveness to allow a new member in and for them to thrive. This might be giving it away, but there's a really great panel where when he gets hurt, there's bandages all over him. She's trying to fix him and heal him, and they're trying to feed him because they look at his size and figure he's hungry. Right? So I think there was enough tension in the story to have you like anticipate, what's going to go on. But when it delivers, it's this feeling of security that, no one is lost in the process. So that's more than one sentence. Maybe
it's all right.
Oh, good.
Condense it.
But I think it's really important.
Matt, you want to try? I'm sorry.
I think
Sandy was saying something. So
those themes were what was important about doing the book, which was that the kids have strength on their own, and they're stronger in numbers through their friendship and their love for something outside themselves. And I think those were important things to address. And at the same time, it's just a great rip-roaring story that they'll enjoy.
So when I finish the last issue, I'm hoping for another series, part 2. I want to see what happens.
All right, Steve, you're up.
One thing for
Oh God, I'm so bad at this. It's an important story for me though, because it really does harken back to my own childhood when you could go running in the woods all day, and basically your parents said, just get back before dark. That was the rule. So I really wanted to explore that, as well as, like I said earlier, you're never sure who the monsters are. Don't be so quick to judge people, especially by the way they look, because they could turn out to be your best friend.
Oh, you did good.
That's all.
You did good.
Oh, okay.
I'm stealing
He's
that.
a writer, you should know, right?
I am stealing that. All right, Nat.
I think the thing, for readers is, yeah, the story definitely has heart. It has friendship. It has that really strong core and characterization. But beyond that, it's exciting. It's not held back. Like, it's full tilt. it's gonna be a fun read. It's gonna be an exciting read, and it's gonna touch you inside.
Nice. Okay, so kids of all ages they're finishing out the first year of navigating remote learning, hybrid classrooms. They have had unparalleled change and adaptation they have had to deal with. What would you tell them?
Carry on.
Yeah. I think this
keep
is all new
going.
for all of us. We're all kids in this world. This is all a new experience for, globally. We're all navigating in something, left foot, right foot kind of a situation, just trying to figure out how to get out the other side and what this is going to mean, not only today and tomorrow, but long term. Is this our future? What has this changed about it? So, I think we just all keep going and, enjoy the ride as much as we can and see where we get to.
Life is constant change. And I think that the one good thing coming out of this is there are no comfort zones, and it's sometimes good to find a new path through life. And it's how you face challenge, and how you remember what you loved about being with other people, and what you valued in your friendships, and what you valued in those moments, and not when are we going to return to normal? Every day is normal. And remember to embrace that, no matter what it is.
I think the pandemic, because of the nature of the virus that we didn't understand, everyone had to stay in place. So I think it gave people time to think what is really important about their lives, to think about gratitude, to think about the future also, because every day is different. So that's the main thing. I hope people understand, it's like people struggle, people resolve the struggle and move forward. Young people, they bounce, they fall, they get up, and they start running. So I'm not afraid for young people.
I think the thing I would tell anyone is read comics. And by the nature of the medium, it is a medium that lets you explore narratives in a safe fashion. It's just a comic book. How scary could it be? And when I know for myself, like getting through the pandemic, I am so grateful for every geeky thing I have ever explored, because when you're exploring the darkest horror, when you're exploring, the most out of world sci-fi, your brain goes through those narratives and realizes that, there is a solution there. People get through it. And, growing up on Dread and every Batman and everything, I feel sorry for people who didn't. Like, how are you focusing right now? How are you coping? So, the best part about Storm King Comics is we have something for everyone, from all ages to the adult. If you're not a horror fan and you're curious, we have something for you too. And StormKingComics.com is where you can find not only our store, which has the only place that you can find signed collectibles from John Carpenter for the Storm King Comics line. We have all sorts of goodies. Thank you guys for this panel, and San Diego Comic-Con 2021. Have fun. Go see some panels and read some comics. Anything to say as we wind it up?
Thank you.
Thank you. Nice visiting.
Thank you very much.
All right. Stay safe, everybody. Take care.